All right. Let me ask you something. And I want you to answer honestly. Have you noticed people are just weirder lately? Hang on. Not like ha ha weird. I mean like the vibe. The vibe is off. What's going on with this mic? Um it's in the grocery store, it's on the road, it's at family get-togethers where someone somehow turns potato salad into a political manifesto. This happened to me the other night. It's even in your own house when you wake up tired after 8 hours of sleep and think, cool, love that for me. Like, like, what the heck? And here's the part that really gets me. It's not just you. You've got people who never agree on anything, agreeing on one thing. Something feels wrong, like the air is heavier, like time is moving too fast, like everyone's one minor inconvenience away from becoming a headline. So tonight, we're going to talk about what I'm calling the global pressure cooker phenomenon. Now, let me be clear, because I can already hear the comment section warming up its fingers. This is not me saying here is the one shadowy villain behind the curtain. I'm not doing the whole one secret group controls the entire planet thing. Just not. Not because it's impossible, but because if you blame everything on one monster, you miss the actual ecosystem that makes monsters thrive. So, what we're doing in this episode is different. We're mapping patterns. And we're asking why so many people from totally different walks of life are experiencing the same stuff at the same time. Like the constant mental noise, the short fuse, the drained batteries, the doom scroll hangover, freaking weird dreams, the feeling that you can't lock in on anything long enough to feel solid. And if you've ever had that moment where you're sitting there thinking, is something messing with me? You're not crazy for asking. You're just not. Because pressure changes people and pressure makes you reactive. Pressure can make you impulsive, it makes you easier to steer. And that's where broadcasting seeds lives. We're not here to panic. We're here to get clear. We're here to look at what's happening beneath the surface, because if you can name the pattern, you can resist the pattern. So here's how this episode is going to flow. Section 1, we're going to talk about the signal beneath the noise, the shared experience, the fact that this isn't just life is stressful. It's something broader, something more synchronized, and it's worth paying attention to. Section 2, we're going to break down stacked pressure, how your body, your brain, your environment, your spiritual life can all get hit at one time. Not one big attack, but 1,000 little cuts. And then everyone wonders why they feel like they're bleeding internally. Section 3, we're going to talk about discernment under pressure, because that's the real battle. When people are tired, distracted, and emotionally overloaded, truth gets blurry. Lies get louder, and the spiritual consequences are not theoretical, folks. But we're not ending in the darkness. We're ending with clarity, tools, and a way to get your feet back under you. Before we dive in, quick favor, and you already know the deal here, folks. If you want broadcasting seeds to keep growing, and if you want these conversations to reach the people who need them, I'm begging you to take 2 seconds and like this episode. Share it with someone you trust and leave a quick review. That stuff matters more than you think. So section 1, the signal beneath the noise. All right. Let's start here because this is the part. Let's start here. This is the part people usually skip past. And most of us are pretty good at explaining things away. You know, I'm tired, so it must be work. You're anxious, so it must be the news. You're irritable because I'm hungry, or probably just need more sleep, more coffee, or even less people. And sure, sometimes that's true. But here's where this gets interesting. When millions of people across different countries, belief systems, political tribes, that's what I'll call them, political tribes and lifestyles all start describing the same internal experience using almost identical language, that's no longer life is hard. That's a signal. And the signal sounds like this. I'm exhausted, but I don't know why. I can't focus like I used to. I feel on edge all the time. Everything feels loud. Time feels weird. I feel disconnected even when I'm surrounded by people. You hear this from therapists, pastors, veterans, teachers. You hear it from people who don't agree on anything else. And that matters because stress is usually personal. Signals, on the other hand, are collective. And this isn't the kind of stress that comes from a single traumatic event or a clear crisis. It's more like a low-grade hum that never shuts off, like living next to a highway long enough that you forget what silence sounds like, right? The constant rushing of vehicles or the waves by the beach, until one day you step away and realize, oh, this has been affecting me the whole time. What's wild is how synchronized it feels. People are reporting heightened anxiety at the same time, shorter tempers at the same time, a collapse in attention spans at the same time, an uptick of strange dreams, intrusive thoughts, and emotional volatility at the same time. And no, this isn't about saying the sky is falling. It's about recognizing that when patterns repeat across unrelated systems, they're telling you something about the environment. Think about this. If one smoke detector goes off, you might assume, it's faulty. If every smoke detector in the building goes off at once, you stop arguing about batteries and start asking, where's the fire? Now, here's the part that makes people really uncomfortable. A pressured population behaves differently. I mean, we see this all over the place. When people are overwhelmed, they become more reactive than reflective. Yeah, more reactive than reflective, more emotional than analytical, and more tribal. For some reason, I love that word today, than thoughtful. So under pressure, nuance dies. Everything becomes an extreme case. Everything becomes urgent. Gotta get it. Everything becomes personal. That's not a moral failure. That's a psychological and physiological response. And if you felt yourself snapping faster or scrolling longer, sleeping worse, or zoning out more than you used to, that's not because you're weak. It's because your nervous system is trying to survive an environment that never powers down. Here's the key broadcasting seeds idea I want you to hold on to. We're not asking who's doing this to us. We're asking what kind of environment produces these outcomes. Because once you recognize the signal beneath the noise, you stop blaming yourself for symptoms that were never meant to be carried alone. And once you stop blaming yourself, you can start seeing clearly again. Section 2, stacked pressure. Here's where things really start to click, because once you recognize the signal, the next question is obvious. Why does it feel like everything is hitting at once? The answer isn't one giant catastrophe. It's what we call stacking. Think of pressure like weight. One plate on the bar is manageable. 2 plates, still fine. But keep loading it up without rest, without recovery, and eventually something's got to give. Not because you're weak, but because physics doesn't care about your intentions. Modern life has quietly stacked pressure on every level of the human experience. I mean, all right, let's start with the body. Most people are chronically sleep deprived. Even when they think they aren't. Screens late at night, blue light in the morning, artificial light all freaking day. Circadian rhythms don't stand a damn chance. Your nervous system never fully rests, so you end up tired, wired, and already behind. Then there's freaking dopamine. Every notification, every scroll, every little hit of novelty. Your brain is being trained to crave stimulation while losing its ability to tolerate stillness, which means silence feels uncomfortable. Boredom feels freaking unbearable, and focus feels like work instead of a natural state. Now, layer that in the psychological side, and you're absorbing more information in a day than previous generations did in weeks or months. And most of it is just emotionally charged nonsense, fear, outrage, comparison, crisis. Even when you try to unplug, the residue just sticks to you like freaking rubber cement. Your mind was not designed to process global tragedy before breakfast. Then there's the environment. We live indoors, on freaking concrete, under fluorescent lights, surrounded by noise, artificial frequency, the constant motion, very little grounding. Well, we talk about this, going and touching grass. Very little quiet. Very little exposure to the rhythms that used to regulate human beings naturally. And finally, the layer no one wants to talk about without getting uncomfortable, the spiritual layer, meaning has become hollowed out. Truth feels slippery. Stillness is so freaking rare. And reflection, reflection's optional. Prayer, contemplation, or even basic silence have been replaced with endless distraction. These freaking things. And when people lose a sense of meaning, everything else starts to just feel heavier, you know? The broadcasting seeds truth that ties this all together is no single layer can break you or does break you, but stacked together, they overwhelm you. And what makes this dangerous isn't that any one system is evil. It's that many systems reward speed, stimulation, and reaction, while the human soul requires rhythm, rest, and integration. Excuse me. This is why people feel like they're always on edge, why tempers are short, why discernment is harder, and everything feels urgent even when it's not. Pressure doesn't just exhaust you, it narrows your perception. And when you're under constant pressure, you don't think long term. You think about survival. You don't ask deep questions, you react. You latch onto simple explanations, loud voices, and emotional certainty. And that's the real danger zone, because when pressure compresses people, truth becomes harder to hear. So the question isn't whether pressure exists. The question is what pressure does to perception. And that's where we're going to go next. Section 3, discernment under pressure. This is where the conversation stops being theoretical and starts getting personal. Okay. So because pressure doesn't just make people tired, it changes how they see. When you're overwhelmed, your brain shifts into efficiency mode. It stops looking for depth and starts looking for shortcuts, simple answers, clear villains, strong emotions, anything that cuts through the noise fast. That's not a character flaw, folks. It's a survival wiring. But here's the problem with that. Truth is rarely loud. Wisdom is rarely urgent. And discernment requires space. And pressure collapses space. So under sustained pressure, people become more reactive than reflexive. We've said this. They confuse confidence with accuracy and volume with authority. Wow. That's a hitter, right? Volume with authority. Repetition with truth. That's why you see wild swings right now, because going all in on ideas they would have questioned a few years ago. Others checking out completely numb and detached because thinking feels exhausting. Pressure doesn't just make lies more believable, it makes everything harder to evaluate. Now, let's step into uncomfortable territory because this is broadcasting seeds and we don't dance around it. Scripture talks a lot about deception. Not as a dramatic jump scare, but as something subtle, something that thrives in distraction, fear, and confusion. Not because evil needs to overpower humanity, but because it only needs humanity to stop paying attention. And when people are tired, they don't test spirits. When people are anxious, they don't slow down. And when people are overloaded, they don't discern, they consume. And look around. We live in an attention economy where outrage is profitable, man. Fear is clickable and calm. It's downright boring. Where everyone's fighting to be heard, but no one's listening. Where silence feels suspicious and stillness, it just feels unproductive to most people. That's not neutral ground. Pressure creates openings. It opens people up to manipulation, to false certainty, spiritual apathy, identity confusion, and to narratives that promise clarity but deliver control. And again, I'm not saying every confusing moment is a spiritual attack. That's lazy thinking, all right? I'm saying this. Pressure lowers your defenses. It lowers emotional defenses, mental defenses, and spiritual defenses, which is why the most radical thing you can do right now isn't to wake everyone up. It's to stay clear yourself. Stillness becomes resistance. Truth becomes armor. Discernment becomes an act of defiance. This is where the episode pivots, because I refuse to leave you in a fog. You don't fight pressure with panic. It just doesn't work. You don't fight deception with obsession, and you don't fight overload by adding more noise. Come on. You fight it by reclaiming space, clarity, space to think, space to pray, space to be bored without reaching for your freaking phone, space to go out and ground your body, spend some time in the woods, spend some time touching grass, say space to tell the difference between what's loud and what's true. The world may be loud, fast, and compressed, but you don't have to be. And that's not weakness. It's how you stay human. It's how you stay discerning. That's how you don't get shaped by the pressure cooker you didn't choose to live in anyway. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. I promise that you're not broken, and that you're not weak, and that you're not crazy for feeling like something's off, because we are living in a moment where pressure is layered on top of pressure, noise on top of noise, and distraction on top of just more distraction. When that happens, people don't suddenly become evil or stupid. They become compressed, and compressed people don't think clearly. We've already established that they react. That's why this episode wasn't about pointing fingers or naming villains. It was about awareness, because once you see the pressure, it loses some of its power over you. You don't need to unplug from the world or move to a cabin in the woods, although that would be nice. Although some days, it's just so tempting. What you do need is space. Space to think, space to breathe and rest and listen, space to hear what's true instead of what's loud. Stillness is not laziness, folks. Discernment, I'm so sick of hearing this. Discernment is not paranoia. And slowing down in a world that profits from your anxiety is an act of resistance. That's the heart of this podcast, Broadcasting Seeds. We don't tell you what to believe. We help you see the terrain. We map the patterns. We ask better questions, and then we trust you to choose how you want to walk through it. That's a novel idea, right? You get to choose. If this episode resonated with you, do me a quick favor. Like the episode, share the episode with someone you trust, and leave a review. That's how this show grows. That's how these conversations reach people who are quietly feeling the same pressure, but don't yet have words for it. And if you have been carrying that heavy, unnamed weight, I hope this episode gave you something better than answers. I hope it gives you clarity. Again, this has been Tanton. This has been Broadcasting Seeds, and until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and don't let the pressure shape who you are.
Something in the air tonight feels heavier than it should. Everybody running fast, nobody standing still. Time keeps slipping sideways. Noise keeps filling space. I'm looking for a signal. Something real strange. We're reaching through the static. an